Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. The Vatican has announced that on March 15th, Pope Francis will preside over a consistory to approve the canonization of Blessed Teresa of Calcutta. The consistory will also determine the approval of the canonizations of an Argentinian priest, a 14-year-old Mexican boy martyred for refusing to renounce his faith during the Cristero War of the 1920s, the founder of the Marians of the Immaculate Conception, and a Swedish Lutheran convert who established a branch of the Brigittine order in Sweden. This consistory meeting of cardinals and promoters of the sainthood causes formally ends the process of approving a new saint. Although it has not been formally announced, it is widely believed the Blessed Teresa's canonization will take place on September 4th, the Jubilee of Workers and Volunteers of Mercy, and the day before the 19th anniversary of her death. More news now from the Vatican. At the end of the Sunday Angelus, Pope Francis offered his condolences to the missionaries of charity who lost 4 of their members March 4th to violence. The 4 sisters, along with 14 other people, were all killed by uniformed gunmen who entered the home the sisters run for the elderly and disabled in Aden, Yemen. Rome Reports has more from St. Peter's Square.
During the Angelus, the Pope recalled the murder of 4 missionaries of charity nuns in Yemen. He especially regretted that the crime did not get any media coverage.
Questi sono I martiri di oggi. E questi non sono copertina dei giornali, non sono notizie. Questi danno il suo sangue per la Chiesa. Questi sono vittime dell'attacco di quelli che li hanno uccisi e anche dell'indifferenza, di questa globalizzazione dell'indifferenza che non importa.
The nuns were killed along with 12 other people in the nursing home where they worked. The Pope sent his condolences Friday to the missionary and said he felt a deep sadness for the murder, which he called an act of senseless and diabolical violence. He said he hoped that from now on, the 2 parties will lay down their arms and engage in dialogue. The war in Yemen, the poorest country in the Middle East, began almost a year ago. It has killed about 9,000 people and has displaced almost 1 million.
Later in the evening on Sunday, the Pope, along with members of the Roman Curia, traveled about 20 miles southeast of Rome by bus to the Pauline Fathers Retreat and Conference Center for their annual Lenten retreat. According to the Vatican, the March 6th through the 11th retreat was to focus on the theme, The Bare Questions of the Gospel. Rome Reports has more on the retreat.
After the usual Sunday Angelus, Pope Francis went to Aricia, 40 kilometers from Rome, to start a week of spiritual exercises with the Curia. He arrived in this small bus with his famous black briefcase and was greeted by everyone who was there waiting for him. Some of those in charge of the house wanted to be very welcoming. The Pope gave his first tour of the facilities in the Divine Maestro house, even though he has been familiar with it for years. His daily schedule will include 2 meditations at 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m., Mass at 11:30, morning and evening prayers, and a Eucharistic adoration before dinner. Pope Francis will return on Friday to Rome to resume his normal schedule, which is suspended this week.
And news from around the country. Former First Lady Nancy Reagan passed away over the weekend in Los Angeles at the age of 94. Mrs. Reagan will be buried alongside her husband at the Reagan Presidential Library. Ronald Reagan, the former 2-term president of the United States, died in 2004 from complications from Alzheimer's disease. The former First Lady was known for her great devotion to her husband. She was also a strong advocate for drug prevention, traveling throughout the country, speaking on the negative effects of drugs. She is credited with the Just Say No initiative against drug abuse, which became a catchphrase which extended beyond the use of drugs. In 1986, Reagan received the Cardinal Gibbons Medal from the Catholic University of America for her service to the nation's families and helping to combat drug abuse. More news now from around the country. In the state of Maryland, for the second year in a row, a bill legalizing physician-assisted suicide for terminally ill patients has been withdrawn from the Senate Judiciary Proceedings Committee. Mary Ellen Russell, executive director of the Maryland Catholic Conference, which opposed the bill, said it was a relief that this dangerous legislation is not moving forward. She said opponents of the bill made it perfectly clear that it would impact the lives of vulnerable people in multiple ways that could not be fixed by amending the bill. Russell said she wouldn't be surprised if proponents return with another bill next year or in the future, but she said that they are hopeful that the very strong coalition of opponents would remain engaged and involved. And finally, in the news, the Vatican Yearbook 2016 is out with some good news. It reports that the number of baptized Catholics worldwide has grown at a faster rate than that of the world's population. The figures in the Vatican Yearbook 2016 will appear in the Statistical Yearbook of the Church, which gives detailed figures on the Church's workforce, sacramental life, dioceses, and parishes as of December 31st of 2014. According to the Vatican Yearbook, the number of baptized Catholics reached 1.27 billion, or 17.8% of the global population. With the exception of Oceania, every continent has seen the number of baptized Catholics grow faster than the general population. Africa remains the area with the highest growth, with the number of Catholics increasing by 41%. Asia saw a 20% increase in the number of Catholics. The percentage of baptized Catholics remains highest in North and South America, where they make up almost half of the world's Catholics. Well, that's all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.